So we had a machlokes between Rebbe and Rebbe Elazar Reb Shimon exactly how the kalim in the Beis Hamikdash were situated. And machlokes how they ran. According to Rebbe, they ran east to west, and according to Elazar Reb Shimon, they ran north to south. Okay, that's the machlokes. We said there were 10 shulchanos. Now, the 10 shulchanos you had to fit in an area of 10 because the whole thing was 20 and that you had to fit it in the north, right? So you picture going down the middle, you're going to fit it in the you have to be in the northern hemisphere, right? You understand? Okay? So we're going to do a math and figure out that light Rebbe, it's problematic if you go east-west. If you go north-south, it works. If you go east-west, it doesn't work. So I sent out a picture. If you have an art scroll, the art scroll has the picture. Again, always with permission of Gedalia Zlotowitz. So, right. So here we go. This is the top picture. This is according to Rebbe, and this. Let's do the bottom one first. See the bottom one. So they're going north south, right? The shulchanos, those are little cubes there. They're going north south. They're going north south. It's now they're off the distance is 2.5 amas because in order for people to walk, you need 2.5 and you need two people walking because they're going to be carrying in they're going to be carrying the lechem upon him, right? So you need two people that are to walk. And so you need 2.5. Remember the Oren guys, we couldn't fit in the Oren because it was like one, it was too small, and therefore it had to be 2.5. So therefore, looking from the left, you have 2.5. You have going from the left. I'm going from the left, and the diagram in the bottom that says according to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, you're going from the left, right? 2.5 amas. The shulchan itself was an amma. And then you have another 2.5 amas between that and Moshe's. Then you have another 2.5, right? And so now, that direction is not a problem because that's totally in the north. What we're concerned about is going north-south, right? Now, if you take a look, it's a little tiny bit that's going to go overlap into, and that little tiny bit, since it's less than an amma, we're not going to consider it, right? Since it's less than a tefach, we're not going to consider that little bit. So therefore, like Rav Elazar Shimon, it's not a problem that it ran north and south. Who's the problem according to? The problem is according to the top picture, guys, according to Rebbe. According to Rebbe, starting from the top, this again, we have to fit in within 10 amas, we have to fit in. Okay? So the picture says 2.5. Then you have the shulchanos, that's an amma, 2.5. Then you have the Moshe's table is an amma. And then you have 2.5. You do the math. You have set 2.5, 7.5, 8, and you have a total of 10, and it's 10 and 10.5 amas. So you see that it's overlapping into what? Into the south. That's the problem. Okay, what's the answer to the problem? I didn't put that as a picture. The answer to the problem is the picture you see, guys, on Sadik Tes Amid Aleph. Rashi has the picture for you. This is all predicated upon Moshe's shulchan being in the middle. If Moshe's shulchan is in the middle, then you have a problem. If Moshe's shulchan is in the west and the other are closer to each other, they're just 2.5 amas apart, it's easy shmizi. So therefore, let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. What? 11 tables, yeah. Now, Bishlema Lamanda Amar top line, Rose of Shimon, the Amat Sofim Vidarim Shapir. As we saw in the picture, you're going to be able to fit everything in the northern hemisphere. El Lamanda Amar Mizrach Umayriv Leit Rebbe, who says the Mizrach Umayriv, Michti, Shulchan Kama Mashach Min HaKaisel. How much was the Shulchan of the Kaisel? You could take a little picture. It was Shtei Amas Umechza, because again, you need two Kahanim to move, carrying the Lechem upon him. The Amadi Day and the Shulchan's Am itself. Then another Shtei Amos Mechza till you get to Moshe's, the Beni Beni. The Am Shtei Amos Mechza the Beni Beni, or Shtei Amos, right? Mechza Beni Beni. The Amadi Day, Ishtakach the ka'achel shulchan palga da amsa bedorim. You have a half an amma that's in the southern hemisphere. And for the Gemara, misav shulchan the Moshe ba'adayu haviyasvi. Do you say that Moshe's shulchan was with them? Fellas, in other words, in our picture, Moshe's shulchan also went north south, right, lying in between them. That's not the way. That's the way it was. So misav shulchan the Moshe ba'adayu haviyasvi loy. The midilay they raised up Moshe's shulchan, umonachle, and they put it in the west. And they brought down to the east, Porta a little bit, like a Talmud sitting in front of the Rebbe. So I didn't put it over here. But take a look. If you take a look at the picture that Rashi has, the second picture on the page, guys, going down at the bottom. So in other words, the two shulchanos were closer together, and Moshe's was over here. And since it was on an angle going up, elevating, so they were like Talmidim sitting in front of. So therefore, even like Rebbe, but it worked out. Even like Rebbe, it worked out. Tarabanan. Asar shulchanas asa shleima. He made 10 tables. However, they only put the lechem upon him on Moshe's table. Shenemar, there's a shulchan asher alav lechem upon him. Zahav eser. Zahav. Stop. So it says shulchan, and then lechem upon him on shulchan mashma 1. However, menorahs, esa menorahs asher shleima. Shleima went 10 menorahs. V'hoyim adlikin ela b'shal Moshe, but they only lit Moshe. Shenemar menorahs. That's a lashon, not menorahs. Menorahs hazav v'neroseha levayer be'erev. So you see that what it was menorahs. They only lit one. They only put lechem upon him on shulchan. They lit one menorah. Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua Omer, Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua said, "Al kulam hayim mesadrin." They put on all of them. Shenemar as hashulchanois, the lashon rabbim, va'aleim lechem upon him, ubekulin hayim adlikin, and on all of them they were madlik. Shenemar as hamenoiros. V'neiros rabim, v'neiros sehem, leva'aram kemishpat l'fnei hadivir zav sagar, pure gold. So if you look at Rashi, it says Rashi al kulin hoyim misadrin pa'amim bezeh u'pa'amim bezeh. In other words, they didn't go ahead and put 110 loaves, right? 12 loaves times 120 and 131, right? Or, making
20 and 12 times 10.
Yeah. It's 11.
20 plus Moshe's.
Yeah, but 12. Well, 132. 132. They didn't have 132 loaves. They had 10, they had 12 loaves, and sometimes they put on this one, sometimes they put on this, someone put on this one. They didn't light all the menorahs. They only lit one menorah, but sometimes this one, sometimes this one. That's the way Rashi learns. There is a Meshech Chachma in I looked it up. Shmois Chav Zayin Chaf. If you want to, Marmakim guys, Meshech Chachma Shmois Chav Zayin Chaf, who brings in Le'inyan Hadlaka. It's Hadlaka of Simcha, and he quotes a Yalkut Shemoni because the Meshech Chachma can't argue in Rashi, but like the Yalkut Shemoni, they lit all of them. They lit all of them because it's Or of Simcha. They lit all of them, and yeah, it's a nice Marmakim over there. And they excuse me.
Around the basic English, right? There's like a design, like a menorahs. There's maybe it's Gemara. Someone said that the other menorahs that Shlomo built, there was one main menorah, and the other ones were just like a design around the.
No, I'm saying there's 10 shulchan. This is according to this.
By the menorahs.
Yeah, by menorah also. Menorah also was set up like this.
There were other menorahs that were outside.
There was menorahs about there was no menorahs in the Ezra's Nashim that was for the Simchas Beis HaShoeva lit up Yerushalayim. Yeah, they were those. But the Yalkut says, why were there so much tables? He goes, because the Shefa Bracha of Parnasa. So therefore, by Moshe Rabbeinu, as Meshech Chachma says, by Moshe Rabbeinu, it was all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it was enough one shulchan. But now they came to live in Eretz Yisrael. It's Geshmak Rashah. Then you needed 10. You needed more a shefa of bracha that it should emanate and come down. So therefore, that was the That was the reason for the Shulchan. It's a nice, beautiful Meshech Chochmah, again based upon a Yalkut in it's Malachim. It's Malachim Aleph Sif Kuf Pei Hey. If you want the exact source, very very nice Gemara. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Omer Lahoy Mesadrin El Shel Moshe. They only put it on Moshe. Elamani Mekayim Vesa Shulchanois. What does you do with the raya of Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua? Right, it says Shulchanois. Asher Aleim Lechem Apanim Zahav. Elu Shloisha Shulchanois Shahay B'Migdash. We're going to have this Bes Hashem. We're going to see a little later on the Yomi base. There were 3 Shulchanos in the Migdash, fellas. Let's do it outside. You would walk into the Heichel, picture the T, right? The T, you have this, and then it goes like, right? So that's the Ulam. They were by the Pesach, by the Heichel, right there. One on the right and one on the left. The one on the right was made of kesef, of silver, and the Mishnah calls it shayish, because shayish is clear. And the one on the left was what? Was gold. They would go in, they would carry in, and you're talking about each one of these lechem aponim was shnei esroinim. And you're carrying, 2 guys are carrying 6 each. So they're carrying it from wherever it was baked, and they would have to, according to Rashi on the Amud Aleph, they would rest it. They would rest it and they put it on the silver table. Then they would go and they would, as we're going to see, they would replace it on Shabbos, put on the new ones and the old ones, and the old ones they would take out and they would put them on the golden tables. Now, why would they put them out? Why would they put them on golden tables? Because they weren't mutter to eat until they burnt the vizichin. So until they burnt the vizichin, the frankincense, they had it on a gold table. Why on a gold table? Because ma'ila b'kotshim ve'in maridin. To go from an oven to silver is great. To go from silver to gold, once it was on the golden shulchan, you had to put on another golden shulchan, right? Because they didn't have platinum in those days, right? so they that was the what the Mishnah is going to say now. So the 3 shulchanis, the shulchanis we're describing are not shulchanis of lechem aponim. It's 2, one of lechem aponim, and then 2 of what? Of for practical reasons. Elu shloisha shulchanis shahaya b'migdash. Shnayim shahaya b'ulam mibifnim lepesach habayis. Echad shel kesef, echad shel zav. Al shel kesef on the silver one. Noisin lechem aponim b'chnisasai. They put the lechem aponim when they came inside. The al shel zav, and on the golden one, b'siyasai, they put when they went out. Shemaylim b'kodesh lemeridin. Why would they have a golden one going out? Because what? Because maylim b'kodesh lemeridin. Echad shel zav b'fnim. Shalav lechem aponim tamid, and then they had the one of Moshe, the one that was lechem aponim tamid. U'minolan dein ma'ridin. How do you know that you don't go down? Am a Rabbi damakra vayokam Moshe es hamishkan vayitin es adanav. Moshe put up the mishkan vayitin es adanav, and he put its sockets. Vayasim es kroshav, and he placed its boards. Vayitin es brichav, and its locks. And then it concludes vayokam es amudav. And he stood up. It's amudim. Now, it's like Rashi is groping for 3 possible pshatim. Vayokum is a chashav aloshen. It begins Vayokum in the middle of Vayitain, and then in Vayokum. So you see, once you go Vayitain, you're not going to go down. So so let's see Rashi. Rashi gives 3 pshatim, and what's your raya over here? Right when the lines get wide, about 4 lines down. Vayokum Moshe es hamishkan. Midrasha of a sefer the krah b'lashon hakama. When the Reish and the sefer the pasuk use the lashon of Vayakum, the afilu b'tzachas halashon, even in the ease of the language, right? You're not going down, right? You're not you. Once you went up, you don't go down. Shma mina ein moridin v'inami, or else leisayu achiv hakahanim. Once Moshe began putting it up, it would be a moiridim to go down to have anyone else help him because he was Moshe. So therefore, they didn't help him because they didn't help him put up the boards and the adonim and the sockets. Therefore, no others helped him because again, it would have been being moirid if they less than Moshe. And Lishnachrina finally made Kara Vayakam Moshe and Mishkan. The Hainu Urias. The Urias Mishkan refers to the goat skin that was on top. Shebetchila Paris Urias. Initially, Moshe spread the Urias. He held it till he put up all of them. I don't know how he did that, but pretty impressive. But the bottom line is, Vayakam, either it's the Lashon, or it's the fact that other kind didn't help, or because the Urias he held up. Okay.
And then by the Malkios, Sechoros, and Shofars, the Psukim also, they go in ascending order.
Yeah, yes, correct. Amra Vacha Yaakov Damakra, Uminolon de Malin, excuse me, and how do you Ma'alin? Amra Vacha Yaakov Damakra, Es Machtois Hachatoyim Ho'ele. This is speaking about Koirach. Remember, they had the Prabha. What was the Prabha? What was the test? With the Ketairis. So what did they do with the shovels? Ha'ele, Chatom Eile ben Afshaisam, V'yasur Rikui Pachim Tzipulim Mizbeach. They went and made them sheets. They hammered them out. They made them sheets to cover the mizbeach. Ki'akrivim ufnei Hashem v'yakdashu. So once they were going ahead and they were elevated to be in front of Hashem, v'yu lo'isla b'nei Yisrael b'tchilo tashmishay mitzvah v'yachshav kufa shal mizbeach. Initially they were tashmishay mitzvah, and now they kufa the mizbeach. So you see that Mylin, we go ahead and we elevate. Mylin, we go ahead and we elevate. It says Asher Shibarta by Moshe, that Moshe booked the Luchos. The Samta Ba'arin, Tani Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef said, a little agadata guys, Malamed, Shaluchos v'Shivei Luchos Munachim Ba'arin. That the Luchos and the Shivei Luchos were placed in the Arin. So it says, Asher Shibarta, the Samta Ba'arin. So we know that in the Arin was the Luchos, and in fact also what? The Shivei Luchos that Hashem has given Moshe, and the Moshe broke. Mikan Talmud Chacham sheshokach tumadai. The Talmud Chacham who forgets his Torah will view him as what? As Shivei Luchos. The Talmud Chacham who forgets his Torah will view as Shivei Luchos. Machmas Einsai, if it's a result as an Einis, Sheinoigim by Minig B'Zayim. We shouldn't be Mavasahim. It's interesting. Who says this, guys? Rabbi Yosef. How many times in Shas do you have a buyer reminding Rabbi Yosef? The Gemara in Nedarim, the Gemara in Nedarim from Mem Aleph says, is Chayla Rabbi Yosef v'shakach terasa. He got sick and he forgot his Torah. And a buyer is always reminding him. So it's very interesting, and he's the one who said that if he gets his Torah, Machmas shouldn't be Mavasahim. Simin is bittel, srach, v'shakach. Omrei shlakish.
Good question.
Yes.
I'm just going back for a second on Vayakom Moshe. You stelled on Vayakom Vayitain Vayakom.
Yeah.
My reading. What was that?
But that you use the lashon of Vayakom. That you use the lashon of, there was three pshatim. One, you use the lashon. It's the lashon of Yakom is a more elevated lashon.
More than Vayitain.
Yeah, more than Vayitain. That's one pshat. Another pshat that Moshe himself, Vayakom, he did it.
Right.
Okay, good. You good? Okay, now Amr Shlakish Pa'amim Amid Beis Shebitlu Shel Torah Zehu Yisoida. The bittul Torah is the Yisoid. The Chsiv Asher Shibarta. Amr Hakadosh Baruch Hu Moshe Yasher Kachach Asher Shibarta Yasher Kach. Moshe did three things, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu was masking. He ate it a day, right? He ate it a day, and then he broke the luchas. What was the third thing? It was one more things. He ate it a day. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, anyway. No, he ate it.
Sometimes about the Torah.
Yeah. Let's see Rashi. Shebilish the Torah, Kigoin, Shemavatal Torah Lahoitzas Ames, Ulachnosas Kala, like Yankel said, Zeu Yisoida, Kloimar, Mekabel Schar, listen to this, Kilu Yoshev Miyasta. It's like you Mekabel Schar as if you sat and you founded it. Vaisikba. So in other words, when you give up your time learning to do a mitzvah, right, the bittul of the Torah sometimes what is equated to that. Shnemar Sheshibarta. V'yom Lashon and Kas. Kadosh Baruch Hu wasn't angry. Shmamina his schema imay das hashchina kishebitlu Torah. That Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Shechina was agreed with Moshe that he's mevatel Torah. Guys, any big bittul Torah gedolim mizun and breaking the luchas, literally, right? No bigger than that. Of a shivan kivin then iskaven the Torah since his kavana was what for the positive. Another memory of Shlakish, Talmud Chacham Shesarach, a Talmud Chacham Shesarach, that he goes off the derech, that he literally putrefies, Ein Mevazin Oisai, but for Hesya, publicly you shouldn't be Mevazin him. Shenemar, V'chashalta Hayoim, V'kishal Gamnovi Imcha Loila, Kiseu Kalayla. It says you should cover it like the night. In other words, you shouldn't be Mefarsim it. You should keep it clandestine. V'amrei Shlakish, this is a very scary memory, guys. Kol hameshakeach dava echem talmuda. Anyone forgets something that he learned, oive belav. He's over in avera. Shenemar hisham alecha v'sham nafshecha ma'oid pentishkach es advarim. You're going to forget what happened at Sinai. Uchderabavin amar Rabbi Eloi Dama Rabba Bab and Amar Loi, Kol Makom Shenemar Yishama Pen Va'al. Anytime he uses that lashon, the shirish of Yishama Pen Va'al, Einu Elo Loi Sasei. So it says over here what? Hishama Lecha, Shama Nafshecha. It says it twice, as a matter of fact. Ravina Omar, Hishama Pen Shnei Lavim Minu. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Omar V'Shleish Lavim Shnemar, Hishama Lecha V'Shama Nafshecha Ma'oid Pen Tishkach Esadvarim. Okay, so therefore one should not go ahead and you shouldn't forget his Torah. Now this is I'll give you two pshatim. First, the bad news. The Shulchan Aruch Harav, he takes it literally. He literally that if you don't chazer your Gemara, you don't work at it, and it's you're doing something really wrong. The good news, Rabbi Chaim Volozhin, I'm quoting. I heard this from Rabbi Bornstein, Sully Bornstein. It says there's a sefer called Keser Rosh. Rabbi Chaim Volozhin has a sefer called Keser Rosh. V'zel l'shaynai zekoi al rishonim shalomdu bal peh. This halacha, if you don't go ahead and you forget your Torah, you're over in a lav, is when the Torah wasn't written down, because then the Messiah would be broken, and therefore it was so important for you to go ahead to make sure it's not forgotten. Mashen came us where we have the Torah in front of us, then it's not going on that. So Rabbi Chaim Volozhin, at least I'm off the hook a little bit. Right.
I said the Shita Mekabetza, so I was passed around in yeshiva, right?
The Ketzais.
Ketzais, not the Ketzais.
The Ketzais.
Not the Ketzais.
Yeah, the Ketzais. But Rashiva, he knew Svarim Bal Peh. I asked him how was it? He goes, by Rav Shimon, there was like one or two Ketzais. There was 300 guys in yeshiva. You saw it once as man, twice as man. He goes, you better remember it. I'll tell you Maisa. Maisa with Dr. Stern. He says he's a dentist. So he told me it was the 73 war, and he said he was an Itri. And the war broke out, the Yom Kippur War, and he ran to the hospital to help. In the middle of that, the lights go out, and there's a siren, and they run to the shelter. So it's pitch black in the shelter, and there's three people in the shelter. Rabbi Stern, Dr. Stern, he's a dentist, and his brother, and the man with a beard. So the man with the beard asked him, what are you learning? So he said, Kedushin. So he goes, Lomer Lenin Sazamin. And he said, the person, Balpeh, Ois, Kamara Rash, Taisis. It was my Rebbe. It was my Rebbe. He ended up in a shelter with Rebbe Gustman. And he said, he told me he's learning Ois for Ois. He goes, every Taisis. And he said that it was like clear, it's true. My Rosh Yeshiva read the Gemara, it was like butter. It's I read it's like chopped liver, but he read it like just it just flowed. It just flowed. It's interesting. So he told me that's yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Okay. So weiter. So yeah, one lav, two lavim, or three lavim. Okay. Yachol afilu machmas einsai. I might think if even if it's an oinus that you don't remember it, you're over in a lav tam loimer upen yasuru milvavcha in mesiras miliba kasabadab. A person works at forgetting. Again, this is another. Now it could be that by not chazering you're working at forgetting it, but again, it could be that if you're not poil working to forget it, it's not as a big problem as it could be. Okay. Now, what do you notice? Some with Rabbi Stoy. It's a Mishnah novice. Yanai Omar. The story of Rabbi Yanai. Amar Yachal Afilu Takful of Mishnah Soy mid the story. But Rabbi Yanai Omar, Rabbi Yanai, I think it should be. Okay, Omar. Yachal Afilu Takful of Mishnah Soy. Now, what does that mean? Takful of Mishnah Soy. Go to Rabbeinu Gershom, guys. Rabbeinu Gershom's also on the side of your Gemara. Yachal Afilu Takfa, Lashon Takfa. That shekosha love harbe mishnasai. It's very hard for him to learn. She'eni yachal lahavina. He can't understand it. V'sara chmilivoy bal karchai. And the mela, since he doesn't understand it, right, it leaves him. She'enai mevina. He doesn't understand it. So I might think even if a person doesn't understand it, right, he would be over a lav by forgetting his Torah. So I might think takful mishnasai means the lashon if it's very strong on him is learning. Meaning strong, it's very hard for him to learn. Tamalay merak. Because the lashon of the pasuk is rak, and rak is a miyut, Mayit that if a person has trouble learning, that it's not going to be a problem. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Elazar Dami Travayu Torah nitla ba'arbayim v'neshamat nutzra ba'arbayim. The Torah was given after 40 days of Moshe up there, and the shaman nutzra ba'arbayim in 40 days of Kaidim Yisir Savlat, right? Kol mishamet Torah nishmasim mishtameres. Anyone who keeps the Torah, his Torah will be mishtameres. V'chol she'ein mishamet es Torah ein nishmasim mishtameres. Tan Rabbi Yishmael mashal adam shemasel tzipor drola avdai. A person gives a bird to his eved. Ama kimeduma atem shem atem avdai she'ani noitel memcha isim b'dameha. You think that, you know what? Once I gave you the bird and you lose it, I'm going to take you isim b'dameha? No, I'm not going to take isim b'dameha. This maschani noitel memcha. I'm going to take you neshama. Because Baruch gives you the Torah, so you might think if you don't keep a little bit of it, you're going to be in trouble. You're not going to be in trouble. Kamash Malon, you will be in trouble. The Lashon of Sfas Emes is the following. Shika Hedgish b'mashal and the Nimshal who al shmiris mitzvahs hamelech, to keep the Torah. Lishmoyas atzipor, which is the analogy is to go ahead and watch the bird, just like we should watch the Torah, and not on the fact that he lost it. Shavadai ein la hashveis ibud tzipor sheshavel isa. You can't go ahead and equate the losing of a bird, which is worth an Isser, which is a small amount of money, the Torah shechem de genuza, which is a treasure that's you can't compare a bird to Torah. And therefore, a person who learns and he goes and he learns and he forgets, in other words, a person is chazering and doing his best and forgets, then this mashal was not said. The mashal is said by a person who treats the bird, loses the bird haphazardly and doesn't keep mitzvahs. Okay, so again, I don't. It's a scary Gemara. It's definitely a scary Gemara that if you never learn how to chazer, it's very difficult. There's a program called Zichru, a guy Goldhaber. He's a big mumche in education. He has a program called Zichroi that people work at remembering what you learned with pictures and different things, and people work at it. The Maggid Shir in the morning here works at it. And he remembers it very, very well. Right? What? Can you mesech? Yeah, can you?
Kids.
It's but Vaharavna. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's fantastic. Yeah,
all day.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It really is.
Like you had to learn.
Yeah, yeah. It's wonderful. I mean, they have programs now. It's wonderful. Okay, Rabbi Newman, right from Muncie, started this program. But Baruch Hashem.
Newman is his name.
Why is he related to you?
NEW. No, his brother has a yeshiva here in Lakewood. Abba Mordechai. Not Yehuda.
Okay, anyway, again, Baruch Hashem, people. I have a nephew. Zalman's oldest son took a bechiner on all the shots. I have a nephew. I have a nephew, Chaim David. He took a bechiner on all the shots. He got a 67, and he said he was so happy. You can imagine. It took like 3 questions every. It's amazing.
Really named after Masechta, right?
That'll be my fare. If I get a 67 at that, I'll be happy.
No, you can't imagine what you can't imagine. Okay, anyway, very, very geschmack. Says the Mishnah. So we mentioned this before. Shnei shulchanos hayabulon b'bifnim al pesach habayis. Echad shel shayish. Now notice before we said kesef, guys, right? Here it says shayish because the kesef is clear, right? Right. The echad shel zahav al shel shayish noisem lechem aponim b'chnisaso, right? And they put the lechem upon him. Now we said, guys, Rashi said in the Yom Aleph because he got tired, which is very interesting because if you look at Rashi over here on the Mishnah, al pesach habayis, eitzel pesach hahechel b'chnisasoi, v'loichoyu manichem sham el harois shemaylim b'kodesh. The whole reason they put it on the one of silver to show shemaylim b'kodesh. The achshav manichem shal shayish umiyad noisna b'hechel u'mesadroi shal zav shal maisha v'al shal zav b'yitziyasai at sheyikturu b'zichin, and they kept it on there until they. In other words, Rashi gives a different reason on this page than he does in the Amid Aleph. It's very, very interesting. Okay. Bach doesn't give an answer, but he seems to be goyers the Rashi on the Mid Aleph based upon a Mefoirish and Talmud. Okay, anyway. So now, why did you go up from silver to gold? Because why did you go from gold to gold? Because you couldn't go down. Shemayla b'kachim v'loy maridin. The echad shel zov mivifnim. That's the one that Moshe, what we called Moshe's table. Shalov lechem upanim tamid. That the lechem upanim is on it all the time. The arba kohanim, and here's the protocol. The arba kohanim nichnasim, and 4 kohanim they would go in. Shnayim biyodam shnei sidarim. 2 of them they had in the hands the 12 loaves. Ushnayim biyodam shnei vazichin, and so you had 4 kahanim. 2 carried what, the 1 6, and you had 2 kahanim, one carrying one of the bezech for the levayna, and the other one for the bezech for the levayna. Shnayim lito shnei sidarim, shnayim lito shnei bezichin, and for arba makdim lefneim. And in front of these 4 went another 4 kahanim. These 4 kahanim went shnayim litel shnei sidarim, 2 to take out the sidarim that were on there the whole week, ushnayim litel shnei bazichin, and 2 to take what, the 2 bazichin. Okay, so guys, let's picture this. You have 8 kahanim, 4 are going ahead, and they're going for the purpose of taking off the bread and the bazichin that we're going to go ahead and burn. And the other 4 following them are to put on the new breads and to put on the new bazichin. New bazichin, right? Right. Okay.
The table is never empty.
Okay, so now that's here's the shaila. We have a machloikas over here. So now, hamachnisim oindim b'tzafain, they would stand in the north. Upaneim l'doraim, and their faces to the south. V'hamitzion oimdim b'doram, and the ones who would take off the lechem upon him, they would stand in the south. Upaneim b'tzafain, and they would be facing what? So again, the more choshev putting on is in the north, and the one taking off is in the south, facing the north. Elu moishchin, the ones in the south would be moishech, pull the lechem upon him towards them. The elu manichem, and the ones that were in the north, they would go ahead and put on the new lechem upon him. V'tafku shel zeh, kineged tafku shel zeh. A tefach, in other words, they wanted, as Rabbi Avi said, they wanted to ensure that the table was never bare. So as they would take a tefach out, they put a tefach in. A tefach out, a tefach in, as they're pulling along, right? They'd be doing this.
They have to put
The rods are off. There's no rods there. It's Shabbos. Remember, they took it off before Shabbos. There's no rods there. They took it off before Shabbos. So now, Rabbi Yossi Aimer, afilu elu noitlim ve'elu manichim afhi haisatamid. Even if they take it off totally, and the other ones would put it on afterwards, and for that moment it's off, right? It would be what considered tummy. Okay, as we're going to see, guys, even if you put it on, take it off in the morning, as long as you put it on in the evening, like Rabbi Yossi, it would be okay. Yatsu v'nasnum al shulchan azav. They would go and put the 12s that were on. They put them in the shulchan azav. Shahaya b'ulam hiktira b'zichin, and then they burnt the b'zichin. And now v'achales mischalakos l'kahanim. They would divide up the lechem upon him. Again, everyone, the mishma going in and going out, you divide it up. So there's a lot of kahanim, and you're dividing up 12. And again, as I said the other day, very often they only got a pull the size of a bean. Chalyom, now, what happens? Chalyom kippurim liyos b'Shabbos, hachalois mischalakos le'erev. They'd be divided up in the evening. Chal liyos b'erev Shabbos. So now, if Yom Kippur, in those days, now we don't have it anymore, but in those days, it could fall, Yom Kippur could fall on erev Shabbos. So therefore, what? So what would they do if Yom Kippur is falling out on erev Shabbos? Seir Yom Kippurim nechal erev. The seir of Yom Kippur. Now this is not the one that went lefnai lefnim. That was burnt. This is the seir of like every shchaydish, the seir of any yontif. This is the chatas that was eaten, but they couldn't eat it because it was what? It was Yom Kippur, and they couldn't cook it because it's Shabbos. Guys, you hear what's happening? It's erev Shabbos, so they bring the carbon. It's doicha Shabbos. There's shchita, but they can't eat it. Why? Why can't they eat it? because it's Yom Kippur. Now, comes nightfall, this chatas is the next morning is going to be nicer, so they have to eat it at night. The problem is you can't cook it because with Shabbos. With Shabbos, you had a problem. Oh, so it says so. They were able to eat it raw. There's certain people who can eat uncooked meat, and I don't know. There's certain people I know. I won't mention names of Rabbi Weiner, who can go ahead and eat whatever kapachko, whatever you call it, whatever it is. Okay, Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Omer, afilu silik es hayishana shachris. Again, Rabbi Yossi said tamid does not mean they have to be covered at every single moment. That the shulchan has to be covered every single moment. He says Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer, afilu silik es hayishana shachris. V'sider es hachadasha arvis ein bekach klum. It's not a problem, right? It's not a problem, right? Elamani mekayim lefanai tamid. Shlo yolin shulchan b'loy lechem. It shouldn't be yolin overnight b'loy lechem. But as long as you have it on there by nightfall, even though during the day you didn't, it's you yaitzel lefanai tamid. Amar Avami midvar v'shol b'yosei nilmad. Afilu leishana adam el perek echad shachris uperek echad arvis kayim mitzvahs. You mekayim the mitzvah la yomer sefer Torah. You mekayim the mitzvah of la yomer sefer Torah hazeh mi picha. Again, just from his words, you learn that just like this is considered tamid, so too learning in the morning, saying Kriya Shema in the morning, and learning in the morning and learning in the evening, that is considered learning tamid all the time. Look at Rashi. Midvar shal b'yaisi the amar mishum the amid hayashan shachris ma'at. You stand up from your sleep in the morning a little bit shulchan. V'achodesh arvis ma'at. V'achodesh, excuse me. Damar hayashan shachris ma'at. A little bit in the morning they had the old lechem apanim on. V'achodesh arvis ma'at, and the new lechem apanim was on in the evening. Karilei tamid shmamina afil leishana adam ela perek echad. So in other words, analogy, you have a little bit in the morning was the lechem apanim Shabbos. You took it off. You put the new on before night a little bit. So too, you learn a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening. It'll be okay. That's what he says. Am Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Bar Yochai. Afil lekara adam ela kriya shema shachris v'arvis. If a person just says kriya shema in the morning and in the evening, lo yamush. It's considered like the Torah didn't stop from his mouth. And this is for Rav Amar mitzvah la'omer b'fnei am haaretz. Right? There's a mitzvah to say what in front of haaretz. So I'll share with you the words of Rameh Simcha and Or Sameach that I sent out. There's an Or Sameach I sent out today. It's a fabulous, as always. Not that Rameh Simcha needs my haskama, but it's very very geschmack. So you have it on your phones, and you'll have it on your screen in a second. Okay, you see the word Yuma, Daf Yotes? You see watch letters, yeah? Okay, good. Okay, let me make it a little bigger. Okay, this is our Sameach, guys, in Hilchos Talmud Torah, right at the beginning of Hilchos Talmud Torah. The Yuma, Daf Yotes, right? Hasach Sichas Chulin, Oive Basei. Someone who speaks Sichas Chulin is over on a mitzvah Sasei, Shnemar, V'dibarta Bam. You should speak in learning, not in Dvarim B'Telem. V'inei Nira, the Rava Ozol im Kriya Shema de Rabbanan. Rava says, if you can hold Kriya Shema as the Rabbanan, so therefore you're not learning V'dibarta Bam as it's a mitzvah deraisa, but you're learning it's the Rabbanan. Umuki V'dibarta Bam l'Divrei Torah. But so you should speak in Divrei Torah. So therefore, guys, if a dibarta bam means Divrei Torah, then not speaking Divrei Torah, you're mevatel and asay of a dibarta bam. Guys, you got it? You're going to mevatel mitzvah asay of dibarta bam. Avalamai de kaimlan, the way we paskin the al kriya shma koi, that the word v'dibarta bam is going on kriya shma, ain't shayach zel lidroish bam v'loy b'dar metelim. It's not possible to go ahead and darshan that way. Venerally, Levire says Rabbi Simcha. The be'emes kol mitzvahs Heimashavim lepachai shebechusim u'lemoshe Rabbeinu olav shalom. You underline that, guys. The mitzvahs are equal to the lowest of the low and to Moshe Rabbeinu olav shalom. Hashem gave the Torah, guys, to everyone, no matter who you are. He gave the Torah to the lowest of the low, and he gave the Torah what? To the greatest people. The Torah achas yeh lachem ksiv. It says one Torah. V'chiyav mitzvah gevul yeshla, and every mitzvah has a gevul. K'moy netilas esrig, b'ninanua, ba'alma. You pick up the esrig. What's your gevul? Shakal zachabissel. Yatsa, yatsa. Rak hamedaktikim, noisin maisoi kalayoyim uchayatsa boy. In other words, Hashem gives us the Torah, He gives us mitzvahs, and there's a gevul to the mitzvah. People can spend more time doing the mitzvah, but there's a gevul to the mitzvah, and it's given for everybody. The Torah is given for everybody, right? Ulakach like kosva Torah midos. The Torah doesn't write midos. Rak b'remez, only in a remez. The lamashal midas hanekama. What does it say about the midas hanekama? Kol Talmud Chacham she'ena noikim v'noiter. Any Talmud Chacham that's not noikim v'noiter, umelech shemach al k'faydoi, ulekach ein ze choik b'prat. Shava l'kol Yisraeli. In other words, it comes to a Talmud Chacham, it comes to a melech, it writes b'remez. Why? Because the Torah is for everybody. Rak kol echad lefi archai. Each person according to their worth. Rak nekima demam and zeh shava l'kulam. When it comes to revenge for money, that's equal to all. V'chein begaiva u'chayotze ba. V'chein lefnim mishuras adin u'bika chaylim u'kfura. V'advoim aruchim b'sifri ha'mecharkim v'nimtza mitzvahs Talmud Torah asher bevadai im yivakesh ha'odam terefu mazayin. If a person wants to go ahead and make money for food, because ein nechshal lemafriya mitzvahs Talmud Torah. It's not considered if he goes to work to put food on the table that he's taking away from the mitzvahs of Talmud Torah, because it says v'asafta deganecha. You should gather in your dogon, meaning you're working. Kesiv. It's going to be the Rabbi Shmuel in Brachas. V'chein lemashal adam cholish hamazik. A person is weak in his nature. V'chein kol echa lefi ha'achrichios shel lefi ha'regilios. In other words, a person's nature. V'chein lefi Torah nafshe shel adam. Each person's different. You have people you have little kids from the time they're little kids, they're interested in learning. And then you have some kids who are not interested in learning and some kids who are not interested in learning. You see, look at a kid, and each kid is different. And it doesn't make any sense. There's a natural tchunas hanefesh. There's a physical. My Rebbe said, people who call him an Eli would get upset. And I'm quoting, Ich hab a gute Zikaron und physische Koyach from 5 Menschen. He goes, I have a good memory and physical strength of 5 people. And he said, I used my strength for Torah. I was able to stay up late. I was able, with my memory, and I was able to stay up late, and I used my physical attributes. But no, what happens if you don't have a good memory? What happens if you need your sleep? But the Torah is given to everybody. The Torah is given to everybody. Ki eina doime b'chiyav Talmud Torah ish asher nafshay margeshes b'sichla hazach. You can't compare a person whose nefesh, whose margish Torah, with a clear mind. V'nikshara ba'avusais ahava l'Talmud Torah. Beautiful lashon, guys. V'nikshara, it's tied ba'avusais, with bands, with braids. Avos l'Talmud Torah. L'isha asher koichais nafshay nirpim. He's weak. V'atselim, and he's lazy. In other words, you can't go ahead and what? And put everyone in the same boat. Everyone's different. L'kach eich hoya mechoik haboire l'choik chiyav Talmud Torah l'chol Yisrael. Right? I've an asin Torah kalecha biyadai. Kiyim biyadai. In other words, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to everybody, yet everyone's different. Not everyone's created equal. Right? Ve'ein l'kel yad hanushi, ve'el yad hanushi, litein hamida amitis l'zeh. L'chein boi chachamim pirshoy lanu, geder merkozim amitis shel Talmud Torah. They gave us a what? A central truth of Talmud Torah that for everybody, that everyone can be masig, not just the big people in Klal Yisrael. The lowest of the low. Kriyash ma b'shachris, kriyash ma b'arvis, kayim v'gisaba yomam v'layla. Kivan shaloimid kabbalas hamitzvah v'asavasla b'shachris ha'arvis, kvar kaim mitzvasa. Okay, so it goes on, but I think you got the message. Ramey Simcha says, "What's Pshat in the Gemara? Pshat in the Gemara is since the Torah was given to everybody, and not everyone's created equal, there had to be a point where you're mekayim that mitzvah, right? Yeah, I'm saying, but the Ramey Simcha is he I'm amazed at his sensitivity and the way he for his lush and he phrases things, and he just puts it together like. And you're talking about a person who was beyond brilliant. I mean, beyond. There's certain svarim that you look at the sefer and the sefer tells you about the person. Anyone who's heard of Geshmakim Eshel Chachma, how many I've shared with you over the years? Anyone who heard the Ar Sameach, how much I've shared with you over the years? You just smile and say, it's not normal. And this person with this, you think a person on this madrega would not be able to say such a concept. Yet he understood in a sensitivity that not everyone is created equal, and in each person, kfi yechaltai. And the starting point was this Gemara. So you could put that on the side of Gemara, Ar Sameach, Hilchos Talmud Torah.